Let's talk about Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. This team currently sits at 3-4, and right now it's not pretty. They just suffered a tough loss against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And in that game, it was a weird game. They were not able to do anything in the first half or even midway through the third quarter. But in the fourth quarter, they got things going and they looked better. In my opinion, Derek Carr is not the right quarterback for this team. And he's definitely not a franchise quarterback. They made a major mistake going out and getting Derek Carr. And I'll take 100% of the blame because I was under the assumption you put Derek Carr in a brand new system, give him a change of scenery from the Raiders, give him a true defense, which the New Orleans Saints have. They have a turnover in every game this season, and they've been very disruptive. Yes, they had the bad play against Christian Kirk in the Jaguars game, but that was mostly a personnel decision because why is Tyrann Mathieu on Christian Kirk to begin with? But you look at that situation. The defense has been very good, been very solid. I'm not going to blame the defense for this. They've been very solid up to this point. And you look at every game this season. They've been in every game closely, all because of their defense alone. Their defense is able to go out there and make plays where their offense is sluggish. And you can make the case that last season their offense was still sluggish, but Andy Dalton was able to put the ball in the red zone. They just turned the football over too much last season. Derek Carr's turned the football over a lot this season as well. He has 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, but I don't even look at Derek Carr's stat sheet because his stat sheet does not matter. Derek Carr's one of those quarterbacks you have to look at in game. If you just go by his stat sheet alone, this is why I mean that numbers can be deceiving. They don't lie, but they can be very deceiving. He throws for over 300 yards a game. He gets his 1 or 2 touchdowns a game. And you'll scratch your head and say, hey, Derek Carr's not the reason they lost the game. But you go back and watch the game, you'll say Derek Carr is terrible. He's overthrowing wide receivers. He's not seeing the field properly. And a bunch of those yards are screen passes to Alvin Kamara. They continue to just dump the ball down to Alvin Kamara over and over and over again. And that's a Pete Carmichael decision. That's terrible. Now, Jamal Williams is not 100%. So against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he didn't have that much production and he didn't do much on the field. But this should be a Saints team that should run the football more and try to work into play action with Derek Carr. But see, the problem is when they work into play action, it doesn't work with Derek Carr. He misreads defenses and he puts the ball in harm's way until later in the game. They start off too slow in games, and then on the back half of games, they try to get things corrected. Then when they do get in red zone situations, they can't score the football at all. They can't put the ball in the end zone. Derek Carr can't. Taysom Hill had to be the guy to go in there and rush for a touchdown, which I don't know why Pete Carmichael doesn't use him more in a gadget role, like how Sean Payton used him a couple of years ago. And that's another thing as well. The ghost of Sean Payton is still with this team. They are still running plays from 4 or 5 years ago. The NFL has adapted to that system. It's adapted to this concept to where it's not going to work. Does Derek Carr have some nice throws every single game that makes you scratch your head and make you say, hey, he could be a franchise quarterback? Sure he does. He always has a couple splash plays. That's it. But a lot of backup quarterbacks have that as well. Derek Carr is not playing good enough for the contract the New Orleans Saints have given him, and he's not playing good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. To me, he's not a starting quarterback anymore. The best play of Derek Carr is way behind him. It's not in front of him. And you do have some key weapons in Michael Thomas, who had a beautiful touchdown in the Jaguars game. You have Juwan Johnson. When he is healthy, he's a very good tight end, and he's been missing a lot of games lately dealing with a calf injury. Hopefully he can get back on the field because that could be a key weapon for Derek Carr. You also have Chris Olave, who was a bright spot last season with Andy Dalton. He has checked out completely with this team. He's a kid that's going out there. He's not running the full route tree. He's just giving up. And you can look on film, you could tell what is going on. Derek Carr was screaming and upset with him late in the game. He just had to throw the ball out of bounds because Chris Olave just gave up on the route. And he just takes his helmet off and just puts his head down. He is done with the Derek Carr experiment. Now, that is a wrong way to take it. If you are Chris Olave, you have to be able to go out there and finish your routes. I understand there's a lot of points in time you look in film, and if you are in his shoes, you'll be frustrated as well. Because there's a lot of times where he is wide open. Derek Carr doesn't see him. He checks the ball down to Alvin Kamara. And that is very frustrating for a young wide receiver that's in his second year. He is seeing other wide receivers around the league in a similar situation have a bigger role with the offense. And Derek Carr does have a better rapport with Michael Thomas. But Chris Olave had 15 targets against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had 7 catches. He is too talented to be checking out like that. He has to go out there, run the full route tree, and just make a difference in the game. I understand that he's dealing with below average quarterback play. but he has to go out there and show that he has his full heart into the game, because he could be a very good wide receiver in the NFL, and he still is a very good wide receiver, but he can be a 100% game changer with this team. And the offensive line is dealing with injuries, but at the end of the day, it's all on Derek Carr. I don't want to come on here and just say, well, you know what? It came down to the last play. Foster Moreau dropped the football. Yes, he does have to catch that football, but they would not have been in that situation. If you look at what happened in the first quarter, they had multiple chances to go down there and score and put the ball in the end zone. They had multiple times to go down there and score a touchdown, and wide receivers were open, and Derek Carr just didn't see him. And when he did see him, it was too late. He could not make tight window throws anymore. Derek Carr is now getting exposed with this team. And you can look at it two ways. On one, if you are a Saints fan, this sucks, because this could be the last leg of this veteran roster that they're squeezing the last juice out of. Or you can look at it this way. Derek Carr is a blessing in disguise, because he's about to get Dennis Allen fired. He's about to get Pete Carmichael fired. He's about to get the entire coaching staff fired, like how he has done before in his career. He's gotten a lot of coaches fired before. And in the past, you can make the excuse, well, the defenses weren't good. He didn't have a strong run game at the time. He had to carry the team on his back. He just had to carry this team on his back. They have a good veteran defense. They have a very good running back in Alvin Kamara. And I know he missed the first 3 games due to a suspension, but you still had a very solid run game. And I understand the offensive line's dealing with injuries, but when he does get good protection, he can't read the field and he's not delivering the ball properly. He only does it when it's an up-tempo offense. Maybe if they did make a change to the offensive coordinator and Pete Carmichael, you take the plays away from him, maybe things will get better in that situation. But at the same time, this is a Dennis Allen staff. This is the entire staff that he wanted. He has coached with all these guys before in his career. He's also had this quarterback before in his career, which makes me scratch my head to realize, what were you thinking, Dennis Allen? You wanted to go back and coach Derek Carr, and you know how it ended the last time? It's about to end the same way this time as well. I don't see this Saints team making the playoffs. I see this team doing the same thing they did last season. They're going to lose a lot of games in the next couple of weeks, and then towards the end of the season, they're going to win 3 to 4 games to make you say, hey, you know what? We can build on something in the future. Unfortunately, that's not going to work, because that's not the Saints way. When Sean Payton left, this team was in a pretty good situation. And ever since then, they've been in a horrible situation. Now, last season, you had Andy Dalton. He was a starting quarterback for the majority of the season, because Jameis Winston was the quarterback for a couple of games before he hurt his back. And a lot of Saints fans are calling to put in Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston will push the ball down the field. That's one thing that he will do, and he will have more energy with this team. But you got to be careful what you ask for, because when he pushes the ball down the field, the interceptions come with that as well. But Jameis Winston can go out there and he can score touchdowns. So let me know in the comment section below, should they make a change to the quarterback position, or should they just get rid of Pete Carmichael and try to fix his thing in halfway point in the season? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, we want each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Peace.